What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. So since Forbidden Light is coming out in just a few days, May 4th, I'm going to recap the standard breakthrough through Ultra Prism format, talk about what decks did well there briefly, and then I'm going to go ahead and talk about what decks I think are going to transfer over to the new format well with Forbidden Light legal, and also the new decks that we will be getting and what the top of the format I'm projecting it's going to look like. So yeah, let's get into it, guys. So first I have, like I said, what I estimate as the standard breakthrough through Ultra Prism tier list as of recent events right at the end of this breakthrough through Ultra Prism format. I think we can safely say that Buzzwole Lycanroc is one of, if not the best deck in this format, so it definitely deserves a tier 1 spot. It's fast, it can take down Zoroark Decks, it's consistent, and even if Zoroark Decks weren't around to be a good matchup for Buzzwole, I do think Buzzwole Lycanroc would still be one of the best decks just because of its sheer power and versatility. It has the Buzzwole, it has Sudowoodo, it has Lycanroc, and it gets even more in Forbidden Light, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes. Then I have Zoroark Lycanroc and Zoroark Golisopod also in tier 1. Zoroark decks just have so many options because you're having so many cards in your hand at a time. So I do think Zoroark Lycanroc and Zoroark Golisopod also deserve tier 1 spots, just because, you know, there's so many options. Zoroark GX gives your deck so much draw power and consistency, and Lycanroc and Golisopod are really good partners. I suppose you could also throw Zoroark Lucario in here somewhere, but it wasn't around for this entire format, and I'm not exactly sure where to put it. But I do think we'll be seeing Lucario GX have some more play once Forbidden Light comes out because of the slight meta shift we're going to get. But yeah, so Zoroark Lycanroc, Zoroark Golisopod both did really well at a lot of big tournaments and League Cups, all tournament sizes alike. So I definitely think they were in tier 1 for this format. So tier 2 we have Espeon Garb, Vikabulu, and Greninja. So Espeon Garb got first and second place at Portland Regionals. I think it was a great meta call. You know, Garbotoxin, if you can't Field Blower away that tool, is just really, really oppressive against just about every deck in the format, because most decks are using a lot of abilities and they're relying on them, except for Buzzwole, and then Espeon hits Buzzwole for weakness, so that's where you make up that lack of ability oppression in that matchup. So Espeon Garb, definitely a contender for tier 1, but it doesn't have the objective power that the Zoroark decks and Buzzwole have. So Vikabulu, a deck that I don't really personally like, but I definitely think it did really well this breakthrough through Ultra Prism format. Just because once you get a Vikavolt or 2 rolling, you can take consecutive 2 prizes, and win the game with your Tapu Bulu GXs. It's really good against Zoroark decks if they're not properly prepared for it with Parallel Cities, because it one-shots Zoroark, Lycanroc, and Golisopod. Zoroark and Golisopod, it needs Choice Band to one-shot, and then Lycanroc at one-shots because of Grass Weakness. Then we have Greninja. Greninja is often referred to as the strongest deck once it sets up, and I tend to agree with that, except it's easily countered by a single Giratina promo. Now, whether or not your meta will include those Giratina promos in their decks depends on Greninja's overall success, but I do think it's a tier 2 deck. It's strong enough to make people include that card, that Giratina promo, just to beat it. So it's a deck that people definitely fear, and it's a deck that a lot of people like to stick to. So tier 3, I have a lot of decks thrown in here, and like I said, I'm sure I missed some. The Lucario decks, I don't want to put in any of these because, like, you know, Lucario Lycanroc, Lucario Buzzwole, Zoroark Lucario, I'm not really sure where they fit. Zoroark Lucario, I'd probably put it in tier 2. but I think we'll get a better representation of Lucario's power in this upcoming standard format with Forbidden Light out. Tier 3, so I'll go over a few of them. Zoroark Gardevoir, I'd love to see it in Tier 2, but it did not have enough play. Sorry about that, excuse me. Zoroark Gardevoir, I don't think had enough play. Tour did really well and won in internationals with it. Kyle Sablehouse made day 2 and top 8 with it. But I don't think it had the numbers like Buzzwole, Lycanroc, and Zoroark Lycanroc had to have the potential success that I think it could have gotten. And also, it's a deck that clunks out on you sometimes. It's probably, if not the most inconsistent Zoroark build, then one of the most inconsistent Zoroark builds. So yeah, favorite of mine, but I won't go too much more into it because I've covered it a lot in article and video format. Straight Gardevoir has a really good matchup against Vikabulu, and in my area, New Jersey, New York, PA, Delaware, there's a lot of Bulu, so Straight Gardevoir is really, there's a really good reason to play Gardevoir because of all the Vikabulus you'll potentially run into in League Cups. But I don't like it for bigger tournaments. It is a good deck. It's not nearly as strong as it once was, but I do think it deserves to be in Tier 3. I think Zoroark Garbodor might be moving up in the tier list this next format, because I do think that the Garbotoxin ability is going to be really important once Ultra Necrozma hits our format. And I'm not too sure about the other decks that I kind of glanced over here in Tier 3. They definitely were good for the BKT through UP, but I'm not sure about once Forbidden Light comes out. Duskmane, Necrozma, whatever. I think that deck is going to omit the Magnezone line and just focus on being a basic deck with Solgaleo Prism and Beast Rings and things like that. So Beast Ring, Max Elixir, Solgaleo Prism, maybe a Registeel. I think that deck's going to be much better than Magnezone Duskmane Necrozma ever was. So now that I covered my opinion, my tier list for previous to Forbidden Light, we can get into Forbidden Light stuff a bit. So I think the BKT through Forbidden Light, whatever, I think it's FOL, whatever that ends up being, I think the meta for this standard format is going to be Buzzwole, Lycanroc, Ultra Necrozma, Malamar, and things that beat those two decks. These decks are just powerhouses. I've been testing with them, but I will be doing much more testing once they're out on PTCGO. But let's get into this. So Buzzwole, Lycanroc, I didn't include Buzzwole GX and Lycanroc GX, their pictures here. I'm sure you guys already know all about them. If you don't, you can find more information about this deck somewhere on my channel. I've talked about it a bunch. But these are all of the new tools that it's getting. So we'll start out left to right. Beast Energy. It's a Prism card. It provides one colorless, but while it's attached to an Ultra Beast, Buzzwole GX, it provides all types of energy, but only one at a time, and your attacks do 30 more damage. So it's just another damage amplifier for Buzzwole GX, which it probably didn't need, but it's really nice to have for people that like Buzzwole GX. We also have Diancie Prism Star, again, just a one of max because of its Prism Star tag, and its ability is like Regirock EX's. Your fighting type Pokemon do 20 more damage to the active Pokemon. So this one does 20 more damage instead of 10 damage, like Regirock GX, or like Regirock EX's does. Also, it's only a one prize attacker, so it's a lot less liable to be Guzma and knocked out and you lose that amplifier. Also, if you do get it Guzma and KO'd, your opponent's only taking one prize for it. So it's more likely to stick around than a Regirock EX, and it's less of a liability. I'm sorry, Regirock EX. I might have said GX. I don't know. There's no Regirock GX. Don't listen to me there. So Beast Ring is next. Beast Ring is going to be good in probably every deck that runs Ultra Beasts. I think this card is busted. It's probably my #1 card from the set. So you can play this card only if your opponent has 3 or 4 prize cards remaining, which is usually going to happen. And you can search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards and attach them to one of your Ultra Beasts. So once your first Buzzwole gets knocked out, or your first Lycanroc, they Guzma up your Lele, whatever, they take 2 prizes. You can play however many Beast Rings you can get your hands on that turn and just power up a Buzzwole or 2. And yeah, it's just really, really ridiculous. All I can say is try it out for yourself and you'll understand why I think Beast Ring is so good. It's really good for other decks, like I said, but we're just focusing on Buzzwole here. It's just a really, really great card overall. We're also getting the 2 cards at the bottom. I'm not sure if they'll see their way into every Buzzwole Lycanroc deck, but we have this non-GX Buzzwole, 130 HP. For 1 fighting energy, it does 30, and then if your opponent has exactly 4 prize cards left, it does 90 more, so it does 120. That math, the first thing that pops into my head, and probably a lot of your heads, is Mew EX. So if Mew EX takes a 2 prize knockout on your Buzzwole GX, it was their first 2 prizes, you can just return KO for 1 fighting energy on this Buzzwole. And we also have this non-GX Lycanroc, which has a dangerous rogue attack. It's just a nerfed dangerous rogue. For a fighting and a colorless, it does 20 plus 20 more for each benched Pokemon your opponent has. So if they have a full bench, you can do 120 for a fighting and a colorless, plus all of your fighting type amplifiers like Strong Energy, DNC Prism, Regirock EX, Choice Band. You could also just use this as a nice one-shotter on Zoroark GXs, but your deck pretty much does that. Your deck does that pretty well anyway. Takes care of Zoroark GXs, so I don't know if this Lycanroc will actually make it into Buzzwole Lycanroc decks. I just thought it was a pretty cool card that I should include here as something to keep in mind when building your new Buzzwole decks. And then, so the other powerhouse of the meta, or my projected second powerhouse of the meta, is Ultra Necrozma. So that Photon Geyser does 20 plus, so 20 plus. This card, all basic psychic energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 80 more damage for each card you discarded in this way. So if you have 2 psychic energy, excuse me, sorry about that. If you have 2 psychic energy and you discard them, you're doing 180 without a choice band or beast energy or anything like that. So 180 is really nice. With a choice band, that's 210. If you have a beast energy, it's 210. 3 psychic energy, which really isn't hard to do in this deck, is 260. So that knocks out everything. So yeah, Sky Scorching Light GX, we really won't be using this. You can only use it if the total prize cards remaining on both sides is 6 or less. Put 6 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. It could be a nice cleanup to take care of some Rockruff, Saruas, things like that. But yeah, Photon Geyser is the main attack of this archetype. And then Malamar will be powering up your Necrozmas. So you can, its ability is once a turn, you can take a psychic energy from your discard pile and attach it to one of your benched Pokemon. And then you can use Dawnwing's Necrozma to cycle out your active and your bench and whatnot. Excuse me. So, yeah, Ultra Necrozma, if you guys haven't tested it yet, it is as good as people are saying. Definitely get your hands on some of these cards, and so yeah, start testing as soon as PTCGO comes out. Ultra Necrozma is a powerhouse. It can easily one-shot Buzzwole, Zoroark, Golisopod, Lycanroc. Its weakness is really just its weakness is ability lock. So I do think that Xerneas Break Garbotoxin, or maybe just Xerneas Break, people are going to try to make that a deck. I'll get into the other things that I think can possibly go toe-to-toe with it, though, while locking its ability. I'll go over that in just a few minutes. So Zoroark decks, where are Zoroark decks going to be? So Zoroark decks have already been running like a Mew EX or two, or a Mew EX and a Mewtwo, or two Mewtwo's, just to have a 50-50 or slightly advantageous matchup against Buzzwole GX Lycanroc. But now with all of this support that Buzzwole's getting, it's getting the new Baby Buzzwole, Beast Energy, Diancie Prism, B-String. B-String's a huge one. So it's getting all this support. Buzzwole's getting even stronger. I think Zoroark decks are going to have 50-50 to slightly disadvantageous matchups instead of 50-50 and up. It's going to be 50-50 and below. So I definitely think Zoroark decks are taking a hit from that. But either just as important or even more important is the Ultra Necrozma GX Malamar. So you're going to be one-shotting their Zoroarks potentially like every turn starting on like turn 2 or 3. And for a deck like Zoroark Elysipod that has little to none one-shot potential, that's Ultra Necrozma is going to have a pretty easy time. I did play a 2 out of 3 with Zoroark Elysipod versus Necrozma Malamar. I might have even been a 3 out of 5. I didn't win a single game though. Even the game where my opponent had a pretty rough start, I just could not I couldn't do enough damage with Zoroark Elysipod. Like, yes, it's super consistent, you have a lot of options, but those options are heal your Pokemon and try to two-shot, you know? And Ultra Necrozma, if they're one-shotting you, they don't give you a chance to heal. They just one-shot you. I do think Zoroark Lycanroc has a better chance of surviving into a high tier over this meta shift because of its one-shot potential. Ultra Necrozma could just limit their bench, but you could still Dangerous Rogue with a Strong Energy and a Choice Band to one-shot an Ultra Necrozma. Or you can just try picking off their Inkays before they turn into Malamars. I have not tested Zoroark Lycanroc versus Ultra Necrozma, but I have tested Zoroark Elysipod versus Ultra Necrozma, and it's really not pretty. I theorize that Zoroark Lycanroc might be a little better. But I definitely think Zoroark decks are taking a hit to Buzzwole GX, the boost that Buzzwole decks get, and also this new archetype of Ultra Necrozma Malamar. But Zoroark decks are just so good because of their draw power, their consistency, their options, so I don't think that Zoroark is going to completely fall off. We thought that would happen because of Glaceon GX with the last set, and that was just not the case at all. Zoroark still lived through that slight meta shift, and Glaceon didn't turn out to be so good. I don't think Ultra Necrozma is going to be the Glaceon of this set. I actually think it's going to be really, really good. But we'll have to see if it finally takes Zoroark GX down a notch. You know, if Zoroark GX completely falls off. But I really don't think that would happen. I'd be very surprised to see Zoroark GX completely fall off. So Lucario GX, I've been talking about this a bit, saying I don't think it's had its heyday just yet. I think Lucario GX might be the best partner for Zoroark GX going to this new format, and here's why. So, Aura Strike, you're doing 120 if you just evolved, 150 with a band, 170 with a Strong Energy, 190 with a Diancie Prism. 190's the number to hit coming up. So Buzzwole GX, 190. Ultra Necrozma GX, 190. That's the number you gotta hit in this new format, in my opinion. And Lucario GX can potentially chain 190 KOs. So I say potentially. That doesn't mean every turn you're going to have, oh, okay, I'll just evolve my Riolu, attach Strong Energy, attach Choice Band. Hey, look, Diancie's on my bench, knockout. So I don't think it's going to happen that consistently. So in theory, Ultra Necrozma GX can probably get those one-shots a little more consistently than Lucario GX could. But if your playstyle is Lucario, maybe an aggro Lucario deck with the Regirock and the Diancie and the Lycanroc, or Lucario GX, Zoroark GX, you want to stick to that Zoroark, I do think Lucario GX has a time to really show its potential. So we did see it do really well. It had a big showing in Portland, I believe, and I'm not too sure about after that. It had some League Cup results, but if Portland had its big showing, that was its first weekend. But I don't think it's seen success over longevity just yet. But I do think that Lucario GX is a card to keep in mind when building Zoroark decks. Because of its 190, its potential to chain 190 hits. And that's going to be really important against Buzzwole and Ultra Necrozma. So next is Greninja, the deck that 95% of this community hates. It's really good. You know, once it sets up, it's really hard to stop it. So we have its Shadow Stitching is 40, and then your opponent can't use abilities next turn. And then its Giant Water Shuriken just puts 6 damage counters, retreat, and then another 6 damage counters. So Greninja has had a really close matchup versus Buzzwole decks previously. I think the Deancey helps a bit, the Beast Energy helps a bit. I think that matchup will probably stay around 50-50, maybe slightly in the favor of Buzzwole. But I'm going to say that one will probably stay 50-50. So Greninja versus Ultra Necrozma is really in Greninja's favor, unless Ultra Necrozma's playing a Tina promo, and then it's in Ultra Necrozma's favor. So yeah, the Tina promo is probably going to be put into a lot of Ultra Necrozma decks until we see how Greninja shapes up in this upcoming format. I do think people will play it though, just because it's an obvious choice to beat Ultra Necrozma decks. And lastly, I have Espeon Garbodor. So how does this one face up against the new meta that I'm talking about, this new Buzzwole Ultra Necrozma meta? So Espeon has type advantage versus Buzzwole. It's been seen as like a 60-40 this past format, and Buzzwole's only getting stronger, so I'm going to say it's slightly in Espeon GX's favor against Buzzwole Lycanroc. But it is still in the favor a bit. But Garbotoxin doesn't hurt Buzzwole too much, but it definitely hurts Ultra Necrozma because that deck runs off of Malamar's ability. So I do think Espeon Garbodor will see some play because of its slight advantage against Buzzwole due to typing, and because you can lock your opponent's Malamars. I think Ultra Necrozma will be running like 3 Field Blowers, so we'll have to see how that shapes up in the meta. So Espeon GX Garbodor, I definitely think it's a solid choice. You have reason to believe that it would do well if Buzzwole and Ultra Necrozma pop off like I think they're going to. So you'll notice here, these past few slides, everything against Buzzwole and Ultra Necrozma. So I definitely think this new format, after Forbidden Light is out, Buzzwole and Ultra Necrozma are going to be at the top of the format, and everything else is going to be like, okay, so how does it match up against Buzzwole and Ultra Necrozma? Does it have 50-50s? Does it beat one and lose to the other? And then how does it do against the rest of the meta? You know, Zoroark Decks, maybe Espeon Garb, maybe Greninja. So, just like in this past format, in this past meta, we've seen, you know, can this deck beat Zoroark Elisapod and Zoroark Lycanroc? Okay, can it beat everything else now? In the meta before that, it was like, what can beat Gardevoir? Nothing? Okay, we'll play Gardevoir. I definitely think it's going to be something like that with Buzzwole and Ultra Necrozma. So first, you're going to have to make your matchups pretty solid or favorable against these two, and then worry about everything else. Ultra Necrozma is probably going to have a lot of popularity right off the bat, just because of all the hype it's getting. And Buzzwole is already a fan favorite because of its simplicity and its aggressiveness, and it's just getting a lot more fun tools, so it's going to be better than ever. Yeah, so that's all I have to say, really. I wanted to get these thoughts out here. These are my predictions for the meta, so, you know, in a few weeks, maybe a month or two, we'll see how this actually shapes up, see how far off I was. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to check out flipsidegaming.com and use my coupon code, all caps Celio, for 10% off of your next order, $10 or more. And I believe you also get free shipping on single cards if you live in the US. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, comment, and like. Be sure to check out my Twitch streams. I'll be streaming non-stop once Forbidden Light comes out, so you'll be seeing a lot of play with the new decks. And I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.